What's going on, everybody, and welcome to Simon's Opinion. Now, the first topic I want to cover on my channel today is the gaming industry as a whole. The first thing I want to say before getting into any of the topics is I am an Xbox gamer, but I'll try to remain as unbiased as possible, but if I don't, call me out on it. Alrighty, so let's get started. The first thing I want to do is ask you guys a question. Okay, so do you guys think that it was a big enough jump from the 360 and PlayStation 3 era to these newer generation consoles, which are already 4 years old? Because in my opinion, it doesn't feel like it was that much of a leap. Back in the day when I went into a store and I played Tomb Raider on the 360 for the first time, I was just like, wow, this is impressive. With all the blurring effects, everything they had going on for it. But this generation stuff looks better, but it wasn't that big leap that everyone was hoping for. A very good example of this was like Destiny and Grand Theft Auto 5 coming to the new consoles. The games looked impressive, and you could tell they were redone a little bit, but it just wasn't that big, massive leap that everyone wanted. We are starting to see new games come out that look a lot better than they did when they first launched, but now these big companies are also coming out with these mid-generation consoles. So in my opinion, it almost seems like the original Xbox One and PlayStation 4 were a mid-generation console. Like a lot of games that got shown off at these big press conferences when these consoles were just announced or just coming out. Let's take Gears of War 4 for example. The game looks beautiful, it plays awesome, but it's just Gears of War. I just wish it was something better. When these consoles first released, there was, a total of 5 games out? One of these games that released was a golf game called Rory McIlroy PGA Tour or something like that. And I had played a couple golf games on my 360, and I was like, alright, let's try to see how much better this game looks. The game looked really fantastic, but the options in the game were so slim that I went back playing on my 360. Meaning the start of this generation was just about graphics. It wasn't about experiences and all these certain things you could do making games and RPGs. And I really feel like games should have focused more on that, making more stuff customizable, making worlds bigger instead of looking a lot better. Like I was really expecting to see a Grand Theft Auto clone, kind of like Saints Row did, but just a massive world with unlimited things to do in it. But of course, that is not what we got. We got a bunch of remasters of games for full price. It was the exact same game that looked a little bit better and had the exact same stuff to do in it. So for 3 years, all we had to play were remasters and games that looked amazing, but did not feel amazing. And now that these games are finally coming out, we have a mid-generation upgrade, which will cost us around $400, $500. And for what? Like a lot of people were waiting for a remaster of Halo 3 to come out, and oh my god, I am so happy it did not. But I really would not be surprised at this time if we started seeing the console launch exclusives being remastered. But I don't want to play those games again. And I'm pretty positive a lot of you out there don't think that you want to play those games again either. If you do, you already have a copy of it. Yeah, but these new remasters, they have a little bit better graphics and the draw distance a little bit farther. I really don't care. I just really want a new game to play with a new tale to tell. Another thing that this console generation has that the last one didn't, that a lot of people don't agree with, is updates. It does seem that every time I turn on one of my consoles, there is a new update. But without these updates, these games that are getting released nowadays would not be half as good as they are now. Could you imagine how bad Andromeda would still be if they had just released the game? I'm sure Andromeda is not a bad game, but it's just a game I'm not willing to pick up right now. Even EA as a company has given up on this game at this point. I'm sure when the price drops a little bit, I'll pick it up in like a sale or something. But for right now, I'm content with just watching people play it and looking at the bugs they're encountering. And I know stuff like this will happen in the future, but at least try to fix it. I mean, these companies make millions of dollars off of games. I think you can afford a little bit to just make your game what you wanted it to be. Especially with these mid-generation consoles coming out like the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro. I would really like to see more games at 1080p instead of 4K, running at 60 frames per second opposed to 30 frames per second. But it just seems like these big companies are trying to push that, oh, in a couple years, these games are coming out. I don't care about games coming out in a couple years. I want to play something now. Bethesda as a company does a very good job of this. The games they show off at E3 come out that year. Like yes, this E3 their showcase was pretty slim, but the games they did show off were coming out this year and looked pretty dang good. I just really wish more companies like Sony and Microsoft would try to follow in their footsteps. Like, don't show me a game that's in development for 8 years, like The Last Guardian. When that game was announced, it was major. It looked beautiful. It was running on the PlayStation 3 and everything looked awesome. But then 8 years later, the game came out. That is way too long to keep people waiting for. Beyond Good and Evil 2 is another example of this. They had kind of showed off a little trailer a couple years ago saying it is in development and we're still working on it, but they did it a little bit more correctly than The Last Guardian developers did. Whenever they got asked the question, how far in development is it, or when is it going to be released, they just pretty much said, oh, we have nothing to share at this time. Just by keeping everybody in the dark is better than saying, hey, we're still basically working on it. Like, it's coming, don't worry. Because I personally like being hyped for a game for about 6 months. I'll say 6 months. I do not want to be hyped for a game for 8 years. Just think of how much can happen in 8 years. You could have a kid, you could get married, you could move, anything could happen in 8 years. It would be like Microsoft announcing that Halo 10 is coming and showing us a CGI trailer. We know it's coming, but we don't want to know about it right now. That's why I really wish I liked sport games. They have a new one every year. It's almost always the same thing, but it's a new one every year, and you can look forward to it coming out like that month. All in all, these big game companies like EA, Activision, Ubisoft, Microsoft, Sony, they all have to start listening to their gamers more and give us what we want, not what you want to give us. Right now, a big thing is Star Wars. We all want a new Star Wars game. We have Battlefront, and then 2 years later, you give us Battlefront 2. Awesome. I, like many gamers out there, want a new Knights of the Old Republic, or even a new Jedi Knight. Like, just something like that's not just Battlefront. But I guess if I want to get my Star Wars fix on, I'll have to go play Lego games. I do like that they're putting out that new Spider-Man game. It does look amazing, and I know that game is going to sell. Because just look at Injustice 2. It's selling like crazy right now. Why is it selling so well? It's because it's superheroes. Superheroes fighting other superheroes. That's what you want in a game. And superhero movies right now are the big thing in Hollywood. All the kids are watching it, so all the kids are going to want to play the game. Just give us more superhero games then. Not just Injustice and Marvel vs. Capcom. Like, okay, yeah, we understand. You can make a fighting game. But also, with Marvel and DC Universe, if I want my fix, I gotta go play a Lego game. Now, I do understand that these games take a long time to develop now compared to the 360 and the PlayStation 3. But if you can't do it, just make something that looks like a 360 game or a PlayStation 3 game and just add more stuff to it. That's why I'm really hoping that more games are made in 1080p instead of 4K. A big hit this generation is indie games. And the reason for that being is that an indie game comes out every other week. There's a new indie game. It may not have the best graphics or the greatest story to them, but it's a third of the price, and they're always coming out. So I'd rather spend, $20 on just one indie game, wait for a $60 AAA game to come out in a couple months, and just have fun. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to have to stop talking, because this video is getting to be a little too long for my taste. I'll probably pick back up where I left off on this video in some other video I come out with. But like I said, I'm trying to make these videos just so you can be entertained for a little bit. And if you caught me being biased towards any company in this video, please let me know. So I hope you guys like this video, and I hope you like and subscribe it. And if you have any questions, just message me on my Twitter or anything. And this has been Simon's Opinion, and I really hope a lot of y'all disagree with it. I'll catch you guys later.